Coming this Halloween from SJS Direct, a darker shade of black, Spellbound. Get Spellbound, paperback or ebook at your favorite online bookseller this Halloween. I was reading some of the comments in my Colin Kappernick and Celebrity Race Hustlers video, and I was quite troubled and even disturbed by some of the comments that were left in that video's comment section. Now, when it comes down to individuals like your Colin Kaepernick, I would think people would think objectively and critically about the commentary I'm making on these individuals and try to connect the dots that I'm presenting to them in my argument. Unfortunately, some people are so spellbound and color struck that whenever you try to point out facts regarding individuals like Colin Kaepernick, they start to get emotional and they start to get defensive regarding biracial individuals like Colin Kaepernick and Jesse Williams. And instead of trying to examine the facts that I'm presenting in my argument, they start going into emotional histrionics, ad hominem attacks, and shaming tactics, saying things like, you're trying to say that because Colin Kaepernick is light-skinned, that he's trying to mislead black people. And that's pretty much one of the core points of my argument, is that when it comes down to these biracial individuals, the Afro-American Negroes in the black community, sadly, do not approach them from an objective perspective. They often approach them from an emotional perspective, and they've been doing this for over 100 years, because if you look at the historical context of many of these biracial individuals, they were often appointed to be the leaders of many movements, such as the pre-civil rights movement and organizations such as the NAACP. Now, whenever we look at these organizations and we look at the leadership of them, we see a lot of biracial people like your Walter White, and even in African American politicians like Adam Clayton Powell, the Negro will often appoint these biracial people to positions of power in their own movements and appoint them as leaders to represent them. And that, again, is a clear case of the cognitive distortion that this Negro has regarding these biracial people. They often put them up on a higher pedestal than they actually should be on, and they never question the content of their character or the context of their motivations, and they never ask these type of critical questions because in their minds, in some ways, this biracial person is closer to white, so they think that they are better than they are and that they have their best interests at heart. And this is something that a kind of frame of thinking that the Negro really has to break out of, because you really have to question, again, the content of this person's character, the context of their motivations, and you have to take color out of the equation. Unfortunately, we have too many Afro-American Negroes who are still spellbound by biracial people, and because they are spellbound by them, they still believe that this person is going to be acting in their best interest. And because the Negro, as David Carroll pointed out in one of his videos, is has no standards for what pro-black is, they're following behind this Colin Kaepernick, thinking that he is acting in their best interest, that he is really concerned about their best interest. When in actuality, when you deconstruct his actions, you clearly see that he has his own self-interest and his own self-motivation. This whole protest of the Pledge of Allegiance in front of these football games is nothing more than a smokescreen to get these Negroes polarized, get these Negroes emotional, and get them to get behind him so that he can now play the race card in defense mode and say that, oh, I'm doing this because of all these black men being killed, but then later on goes into attack mode when San Francisco 49ers ownership decides to cut him from the team and release him because of his mediocre play. Unfortunately, a lot of these Negroes out here do not think critically, and they do not look at the long term. Guys like me, I can look at the long term and see what this Colin Kaepernick is up to. He is exploiting the Negroes outside to benefit himself. Unfortunately, many Negroes, again, have cognitive distortion and can't see this. Now, Brother Cap saw this, and he pointed that out in the comments, and that's why I was thinking about it, and I decided to talk about it. Because I see this cognitive distortion, I see what happens is that they think that this biracial person is closer to white, and if this person who's closer to white is leading this cause, he's going to be working in the best interest of black people. And because he has a pro-black moniker on him and is raising the fists and all this other stuff, these Negroes believe this man is fighting to be in their best interests. No different than Jesse Williams just a couple months ago when he won the humanitarian award from BET, which was owned by Viacom, and sat there and talked about what we are going to do on Viacom, which was owned by white people. Now, any pro-black will sit there and tell you that the revolution would not be televised, because if you televise the revolution, what happens is the white people who you say you're fighting against are pretty much going to know what you know. Unfortunately, a lot of Negroes could not connect the dots on Jesse Williams in the same way they could not connect them on Colin Kappernick. They were too mesmerized by this biracial Negro's skin tone to, again, look at the content of the man's character and the context of his actions. And when you look at the content of his character and the context of his actions and you leave the skin tone out, you clearly see the ulterior motives both your Colin Kaepernick and your Jesse Williams have for talking about the black community. They want to bring the black community in so that they can have a group of supporters who are emotionally involved, so that they can have that base to springboard themselves onto another platform. And that's what Jesse Williams did with the humanitarian award. He used that to springboard himself into another platform. And that's what Colin Kaepernick is doing right now, because Colin Kaepernick pretty much is a mediocre football player, so he wants to get on the top of the stage in the easiest way possible. And the easiest way possible to do that is by exploiting this Negro. Because he knows that if these black women see this light-skinned, handsome man, they're going to get all excited about him. And then when they get excited about him, they're going to be talking about, oh, how handsome he is and how supportive he is and how concerned he is about the black community. Yet this man has never lived in the black community. He's never talked about black issues the same way Jesse Williams has never talked about black issues until now. And they put on a whole dog and pony show for the Negro, saying that they are so pro-black and so concerned about the black community. But their actions clearly show how little concern they have for the black community outside of what they're going to get from the black community, which is a base of consumers and a base of fans that they can use to springboard themselves onto another platform and then sell themselves commercially to larger audiences. And this is something that the Negro he can't connect the dots on and see what your Colin Kaepernick and guys like and Jesse Williams are doing to them, because all they're thinking is a light-skinned person is paying them attention. A light-skinned person appears to be interested in them, but never asking why this person is interested in them. Anybody with common sense is going to sit there and say, why is this guy interested in me all of a sudden? Why is he interested in this black cause all of a sudden? He's never been talking about this before, but all of a sudden, here he is popping up, and then here he is with this black woman trying to show, oh, I love black people. But we see by his actions, he doesn't live around black people. He doesn't support black businesses. He has not come out and endorsed any black candidates. And all of it is again, window dressing that makes everything appear like this guy cares about black people. But in actuality, they have never been concerned with black people overall. And when you start to look at the picture, you start looking past the facade, you start seeing that this is all, again, a con used to take advantage of the Negro and used to move themselves forward at the Negro's expense. Again, when you look at guys like Colin Kaepernick and Jesse Williams, you have to ask yourself, if these guys were so pro-black, why do they not mention black-owned businesses? Why do they not talk about group economics? Why do they not talk about educating black people in the black community about their own black history and things like the Democratic Party? Why don't they talk about the history of the Democratic Party? Why aren't they talking about things that are going on in the black community? Yes, they come out for the popular issues, but they don't come out for the substance issues. And it's those substance issues that black people really need to start taking a long, hard look at before you start deifying these light-skinned pretty boys and putting them on pedestals that they don't need to be on. Don't make these people into your leaders, because they cannot lead you and they do not represent you. And these guys will sit there and make it look like they're doing something when they actually are not. Now, when you look at your Colin Kaepernick and his whole "I'm sitting down for the Pledge of Allegiance," that's a whole, again, smokescreen, because the NFL's policy was not a mandatory he has to stand up. He is not sacrificing anything. He is not losing anything. All he's doing is getting attention for himself, again, at the expense of the Negro, by doing things like putting on pig socks and agitating police officers. He's doing that at your expense. It may make you Negroes feel good to see these type of actions, but again, they are not constructive, because when you look at these actions, are they getting any police officers who committed police brutality prosecuted? Are any of these actions who dealing with police officers who participate in police brutality getting them terminated from their jobs? Are any of these actions getting candidates on the ballot who support black causes and black issues elected? These are the things that you want to, that a person like a Colin Kaepernick, would be focused on. Is he using his economic power towards developing a political base for helping black people in dealing with these issues? The same thing with Jesse Williams. Is he doing that? No, I don't see them doing that. All I see them doing is making a lot of noise that gets attention for themselves, but not doing anything constructive that is helping the black man in the community. Yeah, you're talking about this issue saying, "Oh, I'm sitting down for the Pledge of Allegiance because, oh, that's because America doesn't do right by black people." Well, yeah, that's a nice thing to say, and a nice idea to protest, but it doesn't really get anything done. If you really are serious about getting things done, again, you would be doing what I'm saying right here. Are you supporting black-owned businesses like the one I have? Are you out here trying to talk to politicians about this whole issue of police brutality? I don't see any Colin Kaepernick on that. Are you out here trying to get candidates to listen to your platform where you talk about this police brutality and how these black men are being killed? I don't see any of these celebrities, black celebrities, sitting here doing this. These biracial celebrities, all they're doing primarily is making a lot of noise, talking about what we are going to do, when they are going to do the same amount of nothing they were doing before. All they're going to do after they've done that same amount of nothing is watch as these Negroes rally behind them, support them, not understanding what they're supporting or who they're supporting or why they should be supporting them. When it comes down to people who make statements, you have to look at the motivations they have for making them. You have to look at the reasons they have for making them, because if the motivations are not in your best interest, this person is not working for you. They are pretty much working against you. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.